The first time it happened, I was exiting the BART station at Montgomery Street around 7:30 p.m. Cutting through Financial District foot traffic, headphones buried in my ears, neoprene laptop sleeve clamped to my ribs. There was just enough light bleeding between the buildings to give the sidewalks that glazed, almost oily look. Commuters drifted past in thick waves, most heading toward Market Street. I peeled off in the opposite direction, aiming for Sansom, where I usually stopped for a black coffee and bland turkey sandwich at a 24-hour place called Athena Deli. I never thought of it as a ritual, but I ended up there almost every weekday since I started temping at an architectural firm on California Street. That night, I noticed something small. The deli windows were completely dark. The security shutters rolled down over the glass, which I'd never seen at that hour. They didn't close early, even on holidays. I checked my phone. 7:32 p.m. Friday. It didn't make sense. No sign, no notices taped to the door or anything. I lingered, then decided not to dwell on it. Maybe they'd lost power. Maybe someone was sick. I walked to another corner bodega for something microwavable. I didn't think about it until Monday, when I followed my usual routine again. The same path, same time, same crosswalk at Montgomery and Post. Athena Deli was open that night, lights bright as ever. A line of regulars, I caught the reflection of a television playing over the counter. Footage of the Amtrak derailment in Yakima from the day before. So the deli was open Monday, even though it was dark on Friday. I chalked it up to a fluke. Maybe I'd just imagined something being strange, but things started repeating. Tuesday morning at the office, there was this moment, maybe 10:41 a.m., when Evan, our project manager one cubicle over, leaned into my space with his usual forced grin, the brown heel marks of coffee on his Oxford collar, barely hidden under the lapels of his blazer. "You seeing that contingency mock-up yet?" I was in Illustrator. Glanced up. Brief blink of recognition. Cursor stuttering across the screen. I said not yet, and promised I'd review it by 4. Then an hour later, exactly the same exchange happened. Same words verbatim. Same inflection, same lean into my cubicle. Same lift of static in his hair from pulling off a beanie. I caught my own voice cutting through with identical rhythm. Not yet. Same pause, repeated like a recording. For a second, 2, maybe 3, my hearing fuzzed out like an old tape, warping under friction. I turned sharply like someone had whispered behind my head. Nothing. I saved the file and stared downward because I couldn't trust what had just happened. By the end of the week, I was compulsively filming corners of the office with my phone. Video clips 5-10 seconds long. Sitting in the bathroom stall afterward comparing footage. Trying to catch one of those damn loops. But they never reappeared in recordings, not once. Audio stayed clean. No duplications. No glitches. It only happened live. In my presence. That was the worst part. No proof. People were repeating, but only while I was watching. Files and devices wouldn't register it. And it wasn't just people. It kept getting more precise. On the Embarcadero platform, I started recognizing commuter patterns. A teenage girl with a melted plastic binder passed me twice, within 6 minutes going in the same direction. Platform to elevator bank, and back again. Not like she'd forgotten something. Same speed, same head tilt, same frayed wire dangling from one ear pod, the same drop of sweat blooming under her backpack strap, just above the T in the State Champs logo. I stood still after that, gripping the metal rail, forcing myself to spot anything wrong. As soon as I stared longer than 5 seconds, she was just gone. Not turned, not into another escalator. Gone. Same thing happened later that night with a trash can on the corner of Howard and 2nd. First time I saw it, it was speckled with pink receipts and an old sandwich wrapper. But 20 minutes later, the exact same trash arrangement reappeared 3 feet to the left, like someone copy-pasted the debris. I documented everything I could. But photos always showed plausible continuity. Angles would shift just slightly enough to fool perception. I didn't start losing time, not for real, until late November. I kept using time tracking apps, toggling between hours and Clockify, trying to reconstruct my days. That's how I found out the missing 12 minutes. December 7th, on board the Caltrain headed south to my cousin Lily's in San Mateo. I'd used Be Real that morning, 9:41 a.m. A 2-second shot of the aisle, my scuffed gray sneakers angled toward the train doors. Then the next post tagged me in Burlingame at 10:24 a.m., but I couldn't find any memory of leaving the train or walking north. My GPS access logs stitched a straight line from Menlo Park to San Mateo, but that made even less sense. I'd never exited at Menlo. I tried to retrace physically, returned that Sunday to the same cabin, same seat, rode it again, nothing out of place. But the feeling started building lower than conscious suspicion. Something inside my gut knew. I wasn't tracking reality anymore. It was tracking me, curating what I saw. Around the second week of January, I limited my movement, only walked known routes, kept my field of view narrow. It wasn't paranoia, it was permission. If you didn't look long enough, if you didn't pay attention, things played normal. I went 2 weeks like that, reciting podcasts, word for word to myself, just to pin reality under muscle memory. Then I got careless, went to Golden Gate Park to clear my head, late, around 8:50 p.m., heading west toward the Rose Garden. Lights along Kennedy Drive were dim, mist coming in soft from the ocean. I was near the music concourse when I spotted someone ahead of me, a man, maybe late 30s, wool coat without a collar, standing halfway under the arch near the D. Young Museum, pointed at me with one arm. Didn't say anything. I was being paranoid, I told myself, just a gesture. I blinked, turned to step down toward the path. And then he was closer, still pointing. No transition, no movement, just half the distance gone, like a misplaced frame in a film splice. The violent wrongness of that moment didn't hit me in an emotional way. It wasn't fear, it was subtraction, some internal arithmetic collapsing. There was no loud noise, no leap, no stinger. Only that mathematical impossibility. I had seen him 40 feet away, then less than 20. No time elapsed, no shuffling step or footfall. The sky was cloudless, wind still. Nothing had moved. I ran, retraced my steps to the 44 bus, pretending badly to be on a phone call. After that, I stopped taking detours, stayed rigid, looped playlists so the rhythm of my routes became autonomous. Still, I could feel the shift. Reality wasn't breaking. It was rewriting in place. The moments stacked neatly over themselves like disguised palimpsests. At Powell Bart the next week, I saw advertisements start repeating. A poster for some limited HBO series, cracked gray portrait of a boy leaning over a black table. But every time I passed the poster, the left eye had changed directions. Once tilted inward. Next time it was straight to camera. Again, inward. I took photos, compared, but no evidence. Digital files conformed to chronology. The poster was always the same in my camera roll, but not when I walked past it. I stopped working mid-February. I told my manager I had a nerve issue in my leg, true enough, false enough, and took unpaid leave. I started monitoring the escalators at Civic Center. That's when I developed the trick of counting pairs of shoes. People descending from street level during peak hours. Brown boots, Nikes, Ortho Feet sandals, wedges, Stan Smiths. Same 15 pairs would appear at intervals. Not always the same faces, just footwear. Same wear lines. Same loose threading, same stains. I wrote out a pattern code to log it. A1 for red-soled pumps. B6 for gray New Balances with overstretched laces. But the sequences only made sense chronologically when I left them unreviewed. As soon as I tried to trace back an hour or review time-stamped footage from my phone, the order rearranged results. Video showed normal crowds, never looping, never repeating, just an ordinary city. Late March, I returned to Athena Deli during late evening hours. It was shuttered again, just like that first night in October. This time I waited. I stood across the street for 28 minutes. Not a shadow moved inside. Then at 8:04 p.m., the lights inside popped on. No employee opened the door. No one turned a key. No mechanical flutter of shutter hinges. The lights simply activated like frames from a second take being overlaid. I walked across. The brass door handle that had looked locked seconds ago was warm this time, slightly damp. I stepped inside, and the smell hit me. Not rot, not janitor's soap, but a misplaced olfactory memory. My grandmother's apartment in Sacramento, long since cleared out after her death. Hot radiator metal and camphor ointment. There was no one behind the counter. I called out. The bell above the freezer case rang once. Buzzed, like flickering audio from a link clicked too many times. I left. Didn't go back. 3 nights in April stayed with me. First, I woke at 3:11 a.m. with the knowledge that someone was in my apartment. I didn't hear a window shift or a door catch, just certainty. I didn't move. I counted breaths until the sky lightened. Nothing changed. When I got up at 6, the faucet in the kitchen was turned 10% open. Just a slow drip. No mist droplets on the counter. Second night, I turned back while descending the stairs in the Powell Muni tunnel and saw a shape, not a person, just a vertical corridor of wrong-colored air, like the light hitting it didn't commit to shading. I kept walking, didn't acknowledge it. By the time I reached the lower landing, the corridor had gone solid again. Third night, I tried to document a loop. A man in a denim jacket running for a closing train door on 3 consecutive evenings at 6:38 p.m. Same train, same stumble, same flash of anger on his face. When I showed footage to anyone else, They said I must have filmed the same scene once and forgotten. But I looked down at my browser on the last clip and saw something. A news alert flashing across the screen in the background. Partial power outages strike Soma. Likely equipment failure. Each video showed a different ticker. They hadn't been the same event, but only I could tell. So I stopped filming, stopped counting shoes. I let the loops run, gave them room. I stopped reacting. I stopped trying to interrupt it. It gained momentum. Now I see proofs layered 3 and 4 deep. People on the same sidewalk, smiling with varieties of the same teeth. Devices glitch different for me than for others. When I switch phone cameras mid-recording, the light balance changes drastically even without movement. I tell myself, only one thing is broken, only one. Everything revolves around it. The edits are real. Reality is self-correcting. I'm just the observer. The lens left too long open. Last week I rode the BART from 16th and Mission North toward Embarcadero. Cracked glass above the route map flickered. Onboard announcements named the wrong stations. No one reacted. The voice said, "Now approaching El Cerrito Plaza." But out the window, all I could see was Civic Center. The same mural tagged with the word "Obey" half covered in beige paint. When I exited, the concrete felt colder than it should. My footprints left darker impressions than other passengers for 5 steps, then normalized. I waited. I watched the escalator flow. All the shoes came back, one after the other. A1, B6, D4, again and again and again.